So we got another tail from the trail here. I left my bike down there off to the side of the canyon trail, which is about 2/10 of a mile, third of a kilometer down the hill. And yeah, you have to come straight up this ridge here. So this is what I call the slide trail. The big landslide is just over there. That's where the trace of the San Andreas Fault is and the big tectonic block. So anyway, I wanted to come back up here and check out this area because I had come up here April of 2024, the week after I found the old mountain bike park up here. And I came up and stumbled across this, which I thought was an old road. And I'd also found some wood over here. There's some cut lumber. So yeah, at the time I was in the mindset that up here you had old hiking trails, that people had used over the decades and centuries, and then that there were old roads up here. At the time, I wasn't thinking that there would be mountain bike trails that were rather recently made. And I got to thinking, could be both an old road and a mountain bike track. And especially with this wood here. Up farther, that's what I found at the beginning of that mountain bike park, was the sort of bank turn built with wood. And I got to thinking this might be the same thing. So I had taken a picture up here a year and a half ago, and I saved the coordinates of this so I could come back up here and walked right up to this thing. Yeah, so I followed that little trail or road, whatever it was. Goes up a ways and then it gets into this area here. It's a whole wide area. I guess, a bunch of trees probably fell down here many years ago, and now there's a bunch of rotten logs and little trees growing up here. You got some little bay laurels and some little Doug firs and whatnot. So this whole clear area, there's tracks. I imagine there's a lot of game that comes through here. And yeah, I've been here before. I ran into this can here. It has AD and then CO. There's AD Company. Back when I was a kid, I stayed at my grandparents' house. They had a small dairy in northern Minnesota, and that looks a lot like the cans they used for cream. The milk cans were bigger. And there's also another piece of wood here. It looks like maybe a 2x6. So this might be along the path here. Yeah, the problem is in here, there's a lot of things that look like paths. This might be something right here. Maybe I'll try going that way. I've usually gone around this side and up. Like in here, you just lose the trail because there's all this open dirt. And like I said, over here, this part of the ridge is quite clear. I mean, there's down trees and brush, but the ground is fairly open compared to just around the corner there. It's just solid brush. You can't even move through it. Okay, yeah, came up here. Again, things that look kind of like a trail. There's obviously deer and whatnot that come through here. But like I was mentioning, as soon as you get around the corner of this ridge onto this side, you can see up here, just absolutely jammed with brush, down trees, and then you got all this stuff growing up in the middle, and then over here, I mean, you just cannot move anywhere. But yeah, I'm gonna head back down and take my regular route around. Maybe I'll see if I can get up to the terrain park, see what it looks like this fall. Yeah, so I got up on top of that big brushy area, and normally I would go along the ridge. There's kind of a game trail that kind of runs up this way and then make a cut to the right. But this time I decided just head straight up this darn ridge, and there was an area, a bunch of small Doug fir growing in there, but not too bad. Again, more of this clear area, and I walk up to that. So I think this is definitely where they came down here. Somebody built that. There's a Monster Energy can there. So yeah, I finally found how they got down out of here. So maybe I'll see if I can follow this when I go out. They might not have built anything down here. Maybe every time they went down, just pick your line and head to the bottom of the hill. So maybe this is where they were getting out of here. Yeah, that's been bugging me for a year and a half, trying to figure out how did they get their bikes down. That is a really good clue right there. Still in pretty good shape. A little bit of moss growing on there. Yeah, should be able to head back up here because the terrain park is just up a little farther. My idea was just pick a random route and go and just see if you run across anything, because up here you can't see this on an aerial map. It doesn't show up on a hillshade map. There's no topo maps that show any of this. You know, none of this stuff was official back in the day. And this was basically up from that can and those couple of 2x6s. That can is up the hill a ways from that pile of wood and that little part of a dirt trail. Okay, yeah, that little wooden bridge or whatever it was is right down here through all these down trees. Well, they've probably been dead for a long time. Maybe they just recently blew down and covered that up, because this would be sort of the trail to that boardwalk or whatever you want to call it, ramp. Once you get past all that downed wood, here's the bottom of that terrain park. So yeah, it's still here. Yeah, there's more of this stuff here. Yeah, they had a little ramp over here. I don't know if I saw that one last time. And then the main one here came up and along that board or log there. Somebody had chainsaw cut along there, and then they split off all the loose wood. Oh, and this thing, okay, yeah, see, this tree here has fallen down, and that looks pretty old. It was probably dead, probably a standing dead tree, and it fell down since this place was built. So it looks like a lot of this wood came down since this was built. This old mossy log here, that fell over the thing too. I think there were 3 guys that were involved in building this, and they said it just got too much work to maintain this, because every storm that came through, something came down, crashed down on their track, and then they had to come up and find new wood and rebuild it. And they said it just got to be so much work that they basically gave up on it. And then supposedly another group kind of moved in and started working on it. I don't know if they gave up after a while, or if that's when the open space rangers kind of figured out this was here and kind of chased people off. It's probably been vacant for 20 years at least. Okay, yeah, so they kind of went down this way. So maybe I'll try following downhill from that point, kind of just retrace my steps and see if I run into anything else. Okay, I made it back down the hill, and the bike is still parked here. But yeah, I didn't see anything coming down the ridge that looked like anything more than a game trail. I don't think they built any obstacles or bermed turns. They didn't do any construction that I found anyway. But yeah, if anybody has any information on the Super Bowl terrain park up there, supposedly there were some videos posted either on YouTube or TikTok many years ago, but I haven't been able to find anything, so they're probably either private or deleted or whatever. So yeah, anyway, just thought I'd close that part of the story. I see where they came out at the bottom and where they started at the top. And in between, it's just kind of a clearing up there. There's no dedicated trail. It's just sort of a wide, relatively clear area. And they probably just picked their way down. You know, everybody picked their own line, and you know, they probably did that on purpose. That way they didn't create a trail that would be obvious. So that was probably part of their stealth measures is, you know, don't make an obvious trail up to the place, because then, you know, the ranger's going to find it. Anyway, that's my story here. Yeah, if anybody has any other information on this, yeah, post up in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.